We're going to get this guy shooting by this afternoon. You're feathering the removal final stages here. Hi guys, and welcome back to the shop this week. We are continuing work on our hickory board bow that we got started on 2 weeks ago. This was the leftover piece of a hickory board. And today we're going to tiller this particular stave or this wooden board into a finished bow. We've all heard it said a million times over that if you aren't breaking bows, you aren't making bows. Guys, I'm here to tell you that if you keep breaking bows, you're still not making bows. And so at some point we got to tell ourselves that breaking bows is no longer an acceptable outcome for us, especially when we've done all the things that we know we're supposed to do for a successful bow. That when we tiller in fear of breaking a bow, that sits in the back of our mind, and we tend to make poor decisions. We tend to be a little haphazard in our processes. We allow things to slip through the cracks that we know better than we should do, and we, surprisingly, break a bow. Whereas the success mindset will help you in your process. When you're confident that when you pick this up in the morning, that by mid-afternoon you're going to be shooting it, it changes the way that you go through your processes. It doesn't change the process per se, but it helps you make the right decisions as you move along, right? Like, you're not going to ignore those little details or those little nuances or the little telltale signs of impending disaster. Your brain will, or your thought process will move to how to deal with those situations in a way that's going to give you a shooting bow. But then also really pay real close attention to how the success mindset with regard to putting together this bow plays into the fact that this bow stands a 50-50 chance in the hands of somebody who's worried about breaking it. But your brain can get you within 95% success rate simply by doing things right. You know all the right things. If you're watching this video, chances are good that you have tried to make a bow, or you've at least watched enough videos to know, how tapers work and how tillering works. It's when you actually get your hands on a piece of wood and you start making a bow, are you going to make those right decisions? Right? Like, are you going to remember all of those things? If you're telling yourself that success is the goal, I'm telling you, you will. All right, so here we go, guys. We're going to get this. We're going to get this guy shooting by this afternoon. Follow along with me, and I'll show you how. We're going to get some initial readouts here. For starters, just looking at the limbs, and I would tell you that I did measure the amount of string follow that I was taking, and it was right at about 3/8 of an inch at rest, having been left strung for a half hour. All right, so you can see that the limbs seem to be bending evenly. That's the number one concern to start with. Although, yeah, we're bending good. I'm picking up on a little bit of hinge happening here, which means we've got to work to eliminate that ASAP, although that may just be the light playing with me. We'll take a look at it here. But here's where we're at in terms of weight class. At 16 inches, we're pulling about 27 pounds. Still bending well. And it seems to be coming readily to draw length each time. We'll run this out to 28 inches and see what we get, or 18 inches rather. And at 18 inches, we're at 32 pounds. So we picked up 5 pounds over those 2 inches. And we're at 32 inches at 20, or 32 pounds at 30 inches. puts us right there in that ballpark. We put another 10 inches of draw on this thing. We can expect to get, you know, in the neighborhood of 30 pounds, 25 to 30 pounds, experience has told me, at least when we're dealing with draw weights at this level. All right, so unstrung it off of the tillering tree here, and we're looking 1/2 inch on that side, 1/2 inch on this side. So we can see where this lands after we let it rest for a while, but I'm not necessarily concerned about letting it rest right now. You know, part of this whole process is that it is not a timed event, right? And I know that generally speaking, when you hear a bowyer talk about the amount of time invested into a bow, right, that we take our time. Now, I want to make sure that I say this correctly. We are going to be deliberate in our wood removal, right? We're not going to rush the process as far as taking wood off. We want to take it off, measure, take it off and measure. However, when I say this is not a timed event, the fact that we work on this thing over an expanded period of time does not increase our potential for success any. And as a matter of fact, I would suggest that staying on task and really watching it come to full circle or full draw is valuable in and of itself. Like seeing the process through from drawing to 14, 15 inches all the way out to 28 inches, all in one tillering session, is almost to your advantage, because you can see the changes that are occurring and they stay fresh in your mind, and you're able to stay very close to the things that you are doing and the effect that they're having on the bow. Let's see, I'm 12, 13, 14 inches right here. And just upon observation, I'm feeling pretty good about how these limbs are bending. I can see from right here that my pencil is not making contact with the limb. So that's going to be good for me. And it did not mark on that limb at all, nor did it mark on this one. So I'm going to advance my pencil just a little bit. All right, we are now starting to register some good information. All right, I'm going to unstring this and let you guys see what we got going on. Here is my upper limb. See that it's clean all the way through here, and then we start getting some pencil line that goes solid right through to where I stopped with the tool. So what this tells me is that I'm bending really well right in here, and then I'm starting to stiffen up as I get to my outer limb. Okay, and you might be able to see that in the profile of the bow. I'll get a little longer view here in a second. Here's my lower limb. And remember when I was saying that I thought I saw a little bit of a hinge occurring out in here? Here is my tillering tool confirming what I believed I saw. So I got mark right through this portion of the limb, then nothing, and then a little more mark out here again where I'm stiffening towards the tip. So I am weak right here. Right where I said I thought I was seeing a little bit of a hinge develop. And it's very difficult to see with the naked eye. Lots of experience to see that. And you got to trust your critical eye when you're looking at these things. You'll know it. It's in the back of your head. It's telling you it doesn't look right. It means it's not right, and so you need to take care of it. So we'll be removing some material right here because we're a little off on our taper through that section. And then we'll be removing, again, some wood on the other limb right in here to get it bending properly as well. This is my bottom limb. It's got the 2 areas that need to be removed. I'm going to do a little bit of quick removal here on this upper area. And this is my new what I call a scraper shave. It's very similar to like Dean Torges's Bowyer's Edge. Does a very quick job of removing wood, guys. I have a tutorial on how I made it. I'll put a card on the video here to look at if you're interested in trying to make your own. But this thing, oh my gosh, just takes wood off so quickly. In between every removal with a bladed tool, I go back with my handy file and smooth out any blade chatter that may have left any horizontal marks in the belly of that wood, that bow wood. I ran this out to the tillering tree and advanced it down the way to 21 inches and then on to 22. And we are currently pulling 40 pounds at 22 inches. So we've got 6 more inches to go, and we're already basically at target weight, or at least minimum target weight, at the 22-inch mark. Right here, I'm at 13-inch draw. There's 14-inch. So this is where we were prior. And I'm just feeling like I'm getting an awful lot of bend right in here where I could be getting a little more work out of at least my upper limb here, out in here. I'm going to see if the tillering gizmo confirms this for me. Okay, starting to register some marks there. Let's see what it tells me on this side. Very interesting. All right, I'm getting similar on both. There are the marks. You can see on the upper limb here. I'm not entirely sure I was seeing it 100% right, although I could be bending pretty hard right near the grip. And we just got to get a little bit of work done here to help round it out. This is my lower limb. You can see we're still a little weak right through here, but here's where we can take off some more. Now, we are at 40 pounds at 22 inches, which means we've got some space with which to work to do some tillering work here without endangering the notion of hitting draw weight. We've gained about a 1/4 inch of set in what would be, I want to say, another 8 inches of draw, because we were showing about a 1/2 inch after 14 inches, or even just after being strung and held it at brace height. So at this point, guys, we are entering into the finishing phases of tillering. We're on to the last 5 or 6 inches now. It's time to start bringing the tips into alignment. So I'm going to narrow out these tips where the twist is occurring so that we can really start to focus in on getting that getting that alignment in place. You can see how the limb is kind of turning out like this, and it's kind of kicking out in this direction. We're going to go ahead and work into this, and we'll take material off for probably the last 8 to 12 inches here to actually get a good movement on that. We want to cut the knock down first, then take away material, because we don't want to have to work at realigning that knock. Narrowed down the tips some, and as I was getting ready to string it back up, since the bow had been relaxing for the period of time it took to deepen those knocks, the amount of string follow had subsided by about 1/8 of an inch. So where I was 3/4 on the top, was then now to like 5/8, and even just a little below that. So it's actually kind of approaching back down to that 1/2 inch mark. Let's see here. We're at 14 inches here. I do not want to lose sight of our tiller as we begin working with other aspects of this bow. Hopefully you guys can see this. I feel like I've got a really good arc going on this lower limb, whereas on this top limb, I feel like I stall out just a little bit right here in the working limb. It feels like there's a lot of bend occurring right here. I'm going to take the tillering gizmo to it. And yes, I got a couple marks there. And it marked it up right in here. And again right here, all of this. So it's telling me I'm not bending quite enough in here, that I'm bending quite well right through here. Lower limb. Do that again. Getting a few marks in there. So lower limb is showing right about in here, actually all the way through here, almost continuous. I got one spot right here where it's not making contact. Again, with that little bit of hinge that I felt like I was seeing. So we'll be taking off material right through here. And then on the upper limb, a little more focused removal over here. Let's talk a little bit about what effective wood removal looks like. So you can see this stretch right here of belly that needs to be removed. And we don't want to just wholesale just do the whole thing all at once. The best way to go is to take a little bit through the center, and as you're going to expand that removal out to the edges. You see there? And so this way, you're feathering the removal to the edges of where that line was drawn. So we're removing a little more here and then out to these areas here in the instance of this area here. And then of course in between any bladed removal, we want to come back with a smooth file and take out any washboarding that may have occurred as a result of running the tool over that spot. So we want to take progressively longer removals. So there's a little bit more taken here than here, and then for the expanse of what we're removing. All right, guys, I have a couple times now put it on the tillering stick, most recently to 17 inches to run the gizmo across it to try and check on my tiller. while also working on the tips out here to try and get them lined up. So we are quickly approaching final stages here. What I'm doing now is exercising it to get some of those tillering changes put in place so we can see them. And I am pulling just short of 26 inches here. At 26, it's 46 pounds. So all appearances are they'll finish out at the 50-pound mark here. I'm just feeling for splinters there. All right, so we're going to take it back in and make sure that our positive tiller is looking good. Probably do one more round with the gizmo. Just make sure that this is turning out right. It's looking pretty good. Actually starting to beginning to run out of daylight here, and it is not going to be a very nice day tomorrow or through this whole weekend here in Colorado. We're expecting 3 days straight of sub-zero or sub-freezing temperatures, put it that way. Let's see here. I am at about, let's see, that's 6 1/4, 6 5/8. I'm only sitting at about an 1/8 inch of positive tiller right now. And we want to get a move on here. So here I am. I'll take it to 18 inches. Run my gizmo across it. And I'm showing a little bit right here and here on this bottom limb. Top limb is showing me a lot in through here. I mean, I've just been talking about how it feels like it's just stiff in this outer third. So a couple of quick corrections here. And this will also make that top limb bend a little bit more into a positive tiller. So the positive tiller is not necessarily tillered in. It's the byproduct of having a top limb that's longer than the short or the bottom limb. Automatically creates that positive tiller. So I'm going to do some quick wood removal, get her back on the tillering tree. All right, well, my daughter's gotten home in the meantime, so makes it a little tougher to pick this up.
Well, I guess that could be.
Oh. Here we go. All right, yeah, 26 inches. Let's see here, we'll try that again. It's 45 pounds. Oops. So we are just right there. Going now a couple times to 27. And this is one of those times I'm gonna play it safe here, right? Because I know that I want this thing to be a good bow in the end. I am going to run it in and hit it on the tillering stick one more time with the gizmo, since I got just enough light to do that, and then come out and test it again. I've taken like 10 swipes with the sander, actually. Now I don't want to do major removal, so I went up and down 10 times on each limb to take down the weight evenly, because we are sitting at I think it was 46 pounds at 26 inches. I might be off on that. It might have been more like 52, because it's really climbing quickly. But in that period of time, it's been allowed to relax. I have also just ever so slightly narrowed the grip section here. Makes it actually a lot better to grip and hold. So in the time that it's been able to relax, we are sitting at, we got about 7/8 of an inch of set on the top limb, and we are sitting at about 5/8 of an inch of set on the lower limb. So we're going to get her strung up and do some last minute tiller checks here. I really am running out of light. Here we go again. I lost my audio feed while filming this. But what's going on here is just repeated pulling to 27 inches and then moving on to the 28-inch mark, and just really giving the bow some good exercise to get it, final tuning all the way to full draw. So we're going to take a few measurements here in terms of draw weight. We're starting at 27 inches. We're sitting just over 46 pounds, approaching 47. Exercising a little bit more. Need to get that 28-inch draw read. And here we are, right approaching 50 pounds. Fell a little bit short there, so a good full draw to 28 gets us to that 50-pound mark. Right in the wheelhouse of where I was intending to get this bow to wrap up. So a good hunting weight bow. At this point, I'm just pull her off and give her some good tugs and get some actual draws in with her. Time to do the real finishing peek and tweak and get some arrows put through her. But as I had mentioned earlier, running out of daylight here, guys. I really kind of pushed my timeline, had a few other projects going concurrently, so gonna have to pick this up again next week, where we put the final touches on it and put a finish and put some arrows through her. So guys, thanks for hanging out with me this week. We will wrap her up next week. See you then.